The emergency beacon pulsed through hyperspace with a desperate urgency that made Admiral Kethvar's 4 hearts skip beats in sequence. Standing in the command center of the Zalarian flagship Crimson Dawn, he watched the translation matrix decode the alien signal with growing alarm. The message was simple, direct, and terrifying in its implications. Unknown species of the Outer Rim territories. We are the Zalarian Empire, defenders of the galactic South Quadrant. Our colony worlds are under siege by the Hive Collective. Our fleets are broken. Our defenses crumble. We require immediate military assistance. Coordinates attached. Time is critical. Will compensate with full territorial rights and advanced technology. Kethvar's communication officer, a young Zalarian named Vixtai, looked up from her console with confusion written across her scaled features. Admiral, this signal wasn't meant for us. The trajectory suggests it was broadcast to the unexplored sectors beyond the frontier barrier. Beyond the barrier? Kethvar's tactical mind raced. That's empty space. Nothing but primitive worlds and stellar debris. Sir, the signal strength indicates it was sent with enormous power. Whoever transmitted this wanted to reach very far indeed. Kethvar studied the tactical display showing their current situation. 3 Zalarian colony worlds had fallen to the Hive Collective in the past month. The insectoid aliens consumed everything in their path, strip mining planets and converting organic matter into more drones for their endless swarms. His own fleet had been reduced from 200 ships to barely 60 functional vessels. The desperation that drove them to send that signal beyond the known galaxy spoke to how truly hopeless their situation had become. What's our estimated time until the Hive reaches Zalaria Prime? Kethvar asked his tactical officer. 16 standard days at their current advance rate, sir. 16 days until their homeworld fell. Kethvar felt the weight of his species' survival pressing down on his shoulders. The signal had been their last desperate gamble, sent to unknown space in hopes that someone, anyone, might have the military strength to turn the tide. Admiral. Vixtai's voice cracked with excitement. I'm receiving a response to our beacon. The command center fell silent. Every Zalarian present turned to stare at the communications station. A response meant someone had heard them. Someone was out there in the void. Put it through, all frequencies, Kethvar ordered. The voice that emerged from the speakers was unlike anything they had ever heard. It was deep, measured, and carried an authority that seemed to resonate through the ship's hull itself. Zalarian Empire, this is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Fleet. We received your distress signal. Your situation is understood. Help is coming. Please transmit detailed tactical information on enemy positions, fleet compositions, and defensive capabilities. We will coordinate relief efforts immediately. Kethvar stood frozen. Earth Fleet? He had never heard of such a civilization. His database contained no records of any species called humans or any territory called Earth. Sir? Vixtai whispered. Should I respond? Yes, send everything we have. Fleet positions, enemy strength assessments, tactical analysis of Hive combat patterns. If they're willing to help, they need to know what they're facing. As the data packets transmitted through hyperspace, Kethvar couldn't help but wonder what kind of military force could respond so quickly to a distress call from across the galaxy. The human's voice had carried complete confidence, as if coordinating massive military operations across impossible distances was routine. 3 hours later, another transmission arrived. Zalarian Fleet, Admiral Chen again. We've analyzed your tactical data. The Hive Collective matches threat patterns in our military databases. We're familiar with this enemy type. Relief forces are being mobilized. Estimate arrival in your sector within 48 hours. Please consolidate your remaining forces at the coordinates we're transmitting. Maintain defensive positions around civilian evacuation sites. Kethvar's tactical officer looked up in shock. Admiral, they want us to fall back to the Tertian Nebula. That's 6 light-years from our current position. They said 48 hours, Kethvar murmured. To cross intergalactic space in 48 hours would require technology beyond our understanding. Sir, should we comply with their instructions? Kethvar considered their options. His fleet was beaten, demoralized, and facing annihilation. These mysterious humans claimed they could reach them in 2 days from beyond known space. It was impossible, but impossible was better than certain death. Signal all ships. We're moving to the coordinates they provided. If these humans can truly help us, we'll be in position to support their efforts. The retreat to Tertian Nebula took 18 hours of hard flying through hyperspace. Kethvar's remaining 60 ships limped into the designated coordinates, finding defensive positions among the nebula's energy storms that would mask their sensor signatures from Hive scouts. As they waited, Kethvar reviewed everything they knew about the Hive Collective. The insectoid aliens had appeared from dark space 6 months ago, their bioships immune to most conventional weapons. They fought with numerical superiority, overwhelming defenders through sheer mass rather than technological advancement. Each Hive ship was grown rather than built, creating vessels that could regenerate battle damage and adapt to enemy tactics. His science officer, Dr. Nal Wynn, approached with a puzzled expression. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the trajectory of the human transmission. Based on signal propagation and quantum echo patterns, their response came from a region at least 50,000 light-years from here." "That's impossible. The closest galaxy is twice that distance." "Sir, I've triple-checked the calculations. Either these humans have faster-than-light communication that operates beyond our understanding of physics, or they have ships that can cross intergalactic space in hours rather than centuries." Kethvar felt a chill run through his scales. What kind of civilization had they contacted? 36 hours after the retreat began, Vixtai's sensors detected something that made her question her own equipment. "Admiral, I'm reading massive hyperspace distortions on the edge of sensor range. Multiple contacts, very large signatures. How many ships?" "Sir, I can't get an accurate count. The distortions are interfering with our sensors, but the energy readings suggest fleet formations. Big ones. Put it on the main display." The tactical hologram shimmered to life, showing the local star system with the Tertian Nebula highlighted in blue. At the edge of sensor range, red contacts were appearing like drops of blood in empty space. 1 contact became 5. 5 became 20. 20 became 100. "Admiral," Vixtai's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm counting over 300 contacts now. They're still coming out of hyperspace." The fleet that emerged from the void defied everything Kethvar thought he knew about military logistics. Ship after ship materialized from hyperspace, jumps so precise they seemed to be following invisible roads through the cosmos. The vessels themselves were unlike anything in his databases, massive, angular constructs of metal and ceramic that seemed built for war from the ground up. "Sir, I'm receiving a transmission from the lead ship. Admiral Chan to Zalarian Fleet Command. Earth Navy Task Force 7 has arrived in system. We're reading Hive Collective formations advancing on your position from multiple vectors. Recommend you maintain current defensive positions while we engage primary threats." "Task Force 7? Kethvar managed to ask. "How many ships do you have?" "Current formation strength is 847 vessels, Admiral Kethvar. We brought everything we had in the local area. 800 ships. Local area." Kethvar's mind reeled as the implications sank in. This wasn't the full strength of their military, this was just what they had nearby. "Human fleet, this is Admiral Kethvar. We're honored by your response, but you must understand the threat level. Hive Collective ships regenerate battle damage. Their numbers are overwhelming. Our best estimates put their force strength at over 2,000 vessels." "Understood, Admiral. We've fought regenerating bioships before. Your tactical data helped us prepare appropriate countermeasures. Please observe and coordinate with our battle plan." On the tactical display, the human fleet began forming into formations that seemed almost artistic in their precision. Ships moved with mathematical exactness, creating geometric patterns that maximized firing solutions while minimizing friendly fire risks. "Admiral, Dr. Nal Wynn called from the science station. I'm scanning the human vessels. Their technology readings are unprecedented." "Explain." "Sir, their power signatures suggest energy generation capabilities beyond our scale of measurement. Their hull compositions include materials that don't exist in our periodic tables." "And, Admiral." Dr. Nal Wynn paused, checking his readings again. "Some of their larger vessels are reading as small moons in terms of mass and size." Kethvar looked at the tactical display with new understanding. The humans hadn't just sent a fleet, they had sent a mobile civilization. "Sir!" Vixtai called out urgently. "Hive ships are entering the system. Multiple waves, approaching from 6 different vectors." The Hive collective arrived like a living tsunami. Bioships the size of asteroids poured through hyperspace, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that spoke of hunger and inevitability. They moved in swarms, each ship a cell in a larger organism dedicated to consumption and expansion. Kethvar counted over 1,500 Hive vessels in the first wave alone. All Zolarian ships maintained position. Admiral Chen's voice carried absolute calm despite the overwhelming odds. "Let them come to us. We have prepared a suitable welcome." The first Hive ships reached weapons range and opened fire with bioplasma cannons that had melted through Zolarian shields like acid through paper. But, when those same weapons struck the human vessels, something impossible happened. Nothing. The bioplasma simply dispersed against human shields without causing visible damage. "How are they doing that?" Kethvar demanded. Dr. Nal Wynn's readings were fluctuating wildly. "Sir, their shield technology appears to adapt in real time to incoming weapons signatures. It's like they're learning and countering Hive weapons as they're fired." The human response was swift and devastating. Weapons that Kethvar didn't recognize opened fire from the human fleet, sending streams of energy that seemed to burn through space itself. When those beams struck Hive bioships, the vessels didn't just take damage, they ceased to exist. "Their weapons are completely disintegrating Hive ships," his tactical officer reported with awe. "The biomatter isn't regenerating because there's nothing left to regenerate from." Within 30 minutes, the first Hive wave was completely destroyed. "Second wave incoming," Vixtai reported. "This one's larger. 2,000 ships." "Acknowledged," Admiral Chan responded. "All ships, implement formation Delta 7. Time to show them what human engineering really looks like." The human fleet began to transform. Ships that Kethvar had thought were individual vessels suddenly began linking together, creating massive superstructures that dwarfed anything he had ever imagined. Weapons platforms the size of space stations emerged from what had appeared to be ordinary cruisers. "They're not just a fleet," Kethvar realized aloud. "They're a mobile weapons platform that can reconfigure itself for any threat." The second Hive wave lasted 45 minutes. The third wave, approaching from multiple dimensions simultaneously, lasted an hour. By the time the sun set on the Tertian system, over 4,000 Hive ships had been reduced to scattered atoms, and the human fleet hadn't lost a single vessel. "Admiral Kethvar," Admiral Chen's voice returned to the communication system. "The immediate threat has been neutralized. However, our long-range sensors indicate additional Hive formations throughout this galaxy. If you're willing, we'd like to discuss a more permanent solution to your pest problem." Kethvar stared at the tactical display showing the complete destruction of what his people had considered an unstoppable force. The humans had answered a distress call from across the galaxy, arrived with a fleet that redefined the concept of military power, and casually eliminated an enemy that had brought his civilization to its knees. "Human fleet," he managed to say, "we would be honored to discuss any assistance you're willing to provide." "Excellent. We'll begin coordinating a galaxy-wide pest control operation immediately. Fair warning, Admiral, our full response fleet will be arriving shortly. We brought friends." Admiral Kethvar thought he had seen the full extent of human military capabilities when Task Force 7 eliminated 4,000 Hive ships without breaking formation. He was wrong. The arrival of what Admiral Chen casually called friends redefined everything the Zolarian Empire thought they knew about warfare, logistics, and the fundamental nature of galactic civilization. The hyperspace distortions began 18 hours after the first battle. Dr. Nal Wynn detected them first, his instruments registering energy signatures that exceeded his equipment's ability to measure accurately. "Admiral, I'm reading massive hyperspace ruptures forming throughout the system. The energy displacement is unlike anything we've ever recorded." "How massive?" Kethvar asked, though he suspected he didn't want to know the answer. "Sir, the hyperspace distortions are large enough to accommodate ships the size of small planets." Before Kethvar could respond, Admiral Chen's voice filled the Zolarian command center with what sounded suspiciously like amusement. "Admiral Kethvar, you might want to move your ships to a safe distance. Our reinforcements tend to make quite an entrance." The first ship that emerged from hyperspace was the size of a moon. Its hull stretched across kilometers of space, bristling with weapons arrays that could have served as space stations in their own right. The vessel's angular construction spoke of pure military function, every line designed for maximum destructive efficiency. That ship was followed by another of equal size. Then, another. "How many ships are you bringing?" Kethvar asked, his voice barely steady. "Current count is 12,000 vessels in the primary response fleet," Admiral Chen replied matter-of-factly. "Plus support ships, mobile bases, manufacturing platforms, and specialist units. The Galactic Defense Coordination Council decided your pest problem required a comprehensive solution. 12,000 ships." Kethvar watched the tactical display as contact after contact appeared on sensors, each one representing military power beyond his civilization's ability to comprehend. The human fleet wasn't just large, it was organized with a precision that suggested this kind of massive operation was routine for them. "Admiral Chen," Kethvar managed to ask, "what exactly is the Galactic Defense Coordination Council?" "Ah, excellent question. It's a cooperative organization that manages military responses to existential threats across multiple galaxies. When species like the Hive Collective start consuming civilizations, member species contribute resources for coordinated elimination efforts." "Multiple galaxies?" Dr. Nal Wynn's voice cracked as he spoke. "How many civilizations belong to this council?" "Current membership is around 47 species across 6 galaxies. Humans handle most of the military operations because we tend to be good at the logistics of large-scale warfare." Kethvar felt his worldview expanding beyond recognition. The Zalarian Empire controlled 300 star systems and considered itself a significant galactic power. These humans casually mentioned coordinating military operations across multiple galaxies with dozens of alien species. "Sir," Vixtai called from her communications station, "I'm receiving data streams from the human fleet. They're transmitting tactical information about Hive Collective positions throughout our entire galaxy." "Display it," Kethvar ordered. A holographic map that appeared showed the Milky Way in stunning detail. Red markers indicated Hive Collective positions, forming a spreading infection that covered nearly 20% of the galaxy's outer rim. Yellow markers showed threatened civilizations, many of which Kethvar had never heard of. Blue markers represented human fleet positions, and there were far more blue markers than red ones. "As you can see," Admiral Chen continued, "the Hive infestation in your galaxy is significant but manageable. We've been tracking their expansion for several months and we're preparing intervention protocols when your distress signal accelerated our timeline." "You've been watching our galaxy for months?" Kethvar asked. "Standard monitoring protocol for galaxies adjacent to Council territories. We maintain observation posts and early warning systems to detect existential threats before they spread beyond containment parameters." Admiral Yelnara, Kethvar's second-in-command, approached with a confused expression. "Admiral, I've been reviewing the human fleet organization. Their command structure suggests they maintain permanent military forces larger than the combined fleets of every known civilization in our galaxy." "That's probably accurate," Admiral Chen admitted. "Humans handle defense coordination for about 2/3 of Council territory. It requires maintaining significant standing forces." The casual way the human admiral discussed military forces that dwarfed entire galactic civilizations left Kethvar struggling to comprehend the scope of what they had accidentally contacted with their distress signal. "Admiral Chen, may I ask how many ships humanity maintains in total?" "Active fleet strength is currently around 2 million vessels, not counting reserve forces, system defense ships, or specialist platforms. We're in the middle of a fleet modernization program, so those numbers are increasing." 2 million ships. Kethvar's entire species lived on 12 worlds with a combined population of 8 billion. The humans maintained a military force that suggested a civilization spanning countless star systems. "Sir," Dr. Nal Wynn called urgently, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the human fleet. They appear to be preparing for coordinated operations." On the tactical display, the human ships began moving with choreographed precision. Fleets organized themselves into task forces, each one larger than the entire Zalarian military. Mobile bases established themselves at strategic points throughout the system, creating instant infrastructure for extended operations. "Admiral Kethvar, we're beginning galaxy-wide pest control operations," Admiral Chen announced. "Your ships are welcome to observe and assist, but please maintain safe distances. Our elimination protocols tend to be thorough." The first target was a hive staging area 3 systems away, where long-range sensors detected over 6,000 bioships preparing for another assault on Zalarian territory. Kefvar watched through remote sensors as a human task force of 200 ships approached the hive position. What followed redefined his understanding of military tactics. The humans didn't engage in traditional space combat. Instead, they deployed weapons that seemed to operate on principles beyond conventional physics. Energy beams that ignored distance and time struck hive ships simultaneously across light years of space. Gravitational weapons collapsed the very structure of spacetime around enemy formations, creating localized black holes that consumed entire fleets in seconds. Most remarkably, they deployed something called reality anchors, devices that prevented hive bioships from regenerating by fundamentally altering the laws of biology in specific areas of space. Their weapons don't just destroy the enemy, Dr. N.A.L. Wynn observed with scientific fascination. They rewrite the fundamental constants that allow the enemy to exist. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted 12 minutes. 6,000 hive ships were reduced to empty space without the humans losing a single vessel or apparently expending significant resources. Target eliminated, came the casual report from the task force commander. Moving to next objective. Over the following week, Kefvar watched the systematic elimination of the hive collective from his galaxy. Human task forces moved from system to system with methodical efficiency, erasing infestations that had taken months to establish. They coordinated with local governments when possible, provided humanitarian assistance to affected populations, and left behind monitoring stations to prevent reinfestation. Admiral Vixtai reported during the campaign's final day, "The humans are requesting permission to establish permanent defense installations in our territory." What kind of installations? According to their proposal, automated defense platforms, early warning sensor networks, and a small permanent fleet presence. They want to integrate our space into something called the Galactic Defense Grid. Kefvar reviewed the proposal on his personal display. The humans were offering to provide perpetual protection from existential threats in exchange for allowing their defense infrastructure in Zalarian space. The technology they offered in return included power generation systems that would revolutionize Zalarian civilization, medical advances that would extend lifespans by centuries, and manufacturing techniques that would eliminate scarcity. "Sir," Admiral Yelnara approached quietly, "there's something else. The humans are offering full membership in their Galactic Defense Coordination Council. They want us to participate in protecting other civilizations facing similar threats." What would that entail? According to their briefing materials, member species contribute resources and capabilities to collective defense efforts. In our case, they're interested in our expertise in nebula warfare and our knowledge of local space. Kefvar considered the offer. A week ago, his civilization had been facing extinction. Now they were being invited to join an intergalactic alliance that protected dozens of species across multiple galaxies. What happens if we decline? They leave the defense installations anyway, Yelnara reported. According to Admiral Chen, they don't require permission to protect civilian populations from existential threats. Membership in the Council would give us input into how that protection is implemented. The implications were staggering. The humans weren't conquerors or overlords, they were protectors who took their responsibilities seriously enough to defend civilizations whether those civilizations wanted protection or not. "Sir," Vixtai interrupted, "Admiral Chen is requesting a direct communication." "Put him through." The human admiral's image appeared on the main screen, his expression serious but not unfriendly. "Admiral Kefvar, our pest control operations in your galaxy are complete. Final count was 47,000 hive ships eliminated, 16 civilizations protected, and 3 new species contacted for council evaluation." 47,000 ships, Kefvar repeated numbly. The infestation was more extensive than initially calculated, but, well, within manageable parameters. "We've left defense infrastructure throughout the affected regions and established monitoring protocols to prevent recurrence." "Admiral Chen, I need to ask directly, why are you doing this? What does humanity gain from protecting civilizations across multiple galaxies?" The human admiral was quiet for a moment, seeming to consider his answer carefully. "Admiral, in our experience, the universe is a hostile place full of existential threats that individual civilizations cannot handle alone. We've found that cooperation and mutual protection create stable conditions for growth, exploration, and the advancement of knowledge. But the resources required must be enormous. Less than you might think. When civilizations cooperate, the combined capabilities exceed the sum of individual parts. The Zalarian Empire, for example, has expertise in fighting in dense stellar environments that will be valuable when we encounter similar threats in other galaxies. Kefvar realized he was being offered partnership rather than charity. The humans weren't protecting weaker civilizations out of altruism, they were building a network of mutual support that benefited everyone involved. What if we're not ready for galactic-level responsibilities? No species ever feels ready, Admiral Chan replied with what might have been a smile. But, you responded to an impossible situation with courage and tactical intelligence. That's exactly the kind of civilization the Council needs. Sir, Dr. Nal Wynn approached with his analysis pad. I've been reviewing their technology transfers. Implementation would advance our civilization by several centuries within a single generation. The offer was beyond generous, it was transformative. But, Kefvar had to ask the crucial question. Admiral Chen, what assurance do we have that this alliance will not compromise Zalarian independence? The Council Charter explicitly protects member sovereignty. Each species maintains complete control over internal affairs, cultural development, and local governance. The only shared authority involves response to existential threats. And if we make mistakes or disagree with Council policies? Disagreement is expected and valued. Some of our best operational procedures came from member species challenging human assumptions. Mistakes are learning opportunities, not grounds for punishment. Kefvar looked around his command center at the faces of his officers. These were good people who had fought bravely against impossible odds. They deserved a future where their children would never face the kind of existential terror the Hive Collective had represented. Admiral Chen, the Zalarian Empire accepts membership in the Galactic Defense Coordination Council. Welcome to the galactic community, Admiral. Your first council briefing is scheduled for next week. Fair warning, it might take a while to cover everything. The council briefing lasted 4 days. Admiral Kefvar thought he had prepared himself for revelations about the scope of galactic civilization, but nothing could have readied him for the true nature of what the humans had built across the cosmos. The briefing took place aboard the human command vessel Eternal Vigil, a mobile city the size of a small planet that served as the operational headquarters for council activities in the local galactic cluster. As Kefvar and his senior staff were transported through the ship's interior, he realized that calling it a vessel was inadequate. It was a self-contained civilization. The ship maintains a permanent population of 12 million beings, explained Dr. Sarah Martinez, the human xenobiologist assigned to guide the Zalarian delegation. About 60% human, 40% other council species. We have complete manufacturing capabilities, research facilities, cultural centers, even natural parks with ecosystems from dozens of different worlds. Kefvar watched through observation windows as they passed through districts that housed families, children playing in environments designed for species he didn't recognize, and work areas where beings of various shapes and sizes collaborated on projects beyond his comprehension. Dr. Martinez, his science officer Dr. Nal Wynn asked, how long has this level of cooperation existed? The current council structure has been in place for about 400 Earth years, but humans have been working with other species for over a millennium. It started small, just a few species in our local galactic arm working together for mutual protection. What changed? Admiral Yelnara inquired. Dr. Martinez gestured to a wall display showing a galactic map with familiar red markers. We encountered something like your Hive Collective, but worse. A species called the Devourers that consumed entire galaxies, converting all matter into more of themselves. No single civilization could stop them. What happened to them? Extinct. It took the combined resources of 17 species, 200 years of warfare, and weapons that we had to invent specifically for galaxy-scale combat. But we learned something important: the universe contains threats that require cooperative response. The formal briefing began in a chamber that could have served as an auditorium for Kefvar's entire fleet. Representatives from 47 different species sat in environmental pods designed for their specific biological needs. The diversity was overwhelming: beings of crystal and gas, energy constructs that flickered with thought, aquatic species in specialized tanks, and dozens of variations on biological themes. Welcome, Zalarian delegation, to your first Council General Assembly, announced the session moderator, a being that appeared to be made of living light. Today's agenda covers current threat assessments, resource allocation for ongoing operations, and integration protocols for new member species. The threat assessment alone took 6 hours. Kefvar learned that the known universe contained dozens of existential threats requiring active monitoring and intervention. Ancient artificial intelligences that had outlived their creators and decided organic life was inefficient. Cosmic parasites that fed on stellar energy, gradually killing entire systems. Dimensional incursions from realities where the laws of physics operated according to hostile principles. The Hive Collective that threatened your space is actually a relatively minor threat, explained Admiral Chen during a break. Category 3 on our scale. We have automated response protocols for anything below Category 5. What constitutes a Category 10 threat? Dr. Nal Win asked. Something that threatens the fundamental structure of reality itself. We've encountered 3 Category 10 events in our recorded history. Each one required the full resources of the Council and left us changed as a collective civilization. The resource allocation discussion revealed the true scope of Council operations. They maintained active military presence in 6 galaxies, operated research stations in dimensional spaces outside normal reality, and provided humanitarian assistance to thousands of developing civilizations across hundreds of thousands of star systems. Current active projects include monitoring 12 potential Category 8 threats, providing technological assistance to 347 developing species, and managing the integration of 17 new member civilizations, reported the Council's logistics coordinator, a crystalline being whose thoughts manifested as harmonic frequencies. How do you coordinate activities across such vast distances? Admiral Yelnara asked. Quantum entanglement communication networks and temporal synchronization fields, Dr. Martinez explained. Real-time communication across galactic distances, coordinated time flow to prevent relativistic complications, and shared database access for all member species. But the integration protocols discussion was what truly opened Kefvar's eyes to what membership would mean for his people. Each new member species brings unique capabilities that enhance collective security, explained the integration specialist, a human named Commander Rodriguez. Zalarians have demonstrated exceptional tactical innovation under pressure and deep understanding of stellar phenomenon warfare. These capabilities will be valuable for operations in dense stellar environments throughout Council territory. What specific contributions would be expected from us? Kefvar asked. Initially, consultation on tactical problems involving nebula warfare, asteroid field combat, and operations near unstable stars. As your civilization develops Council-level technology, we anticipate contributions to research programs and eventual participation in major threat response operations. Major threat response? Admiral Yelnara inquired. Category 7 and above. Threats that require the coordinated response of multiple species with specialized capabilities. The technological integration package offered to the Zalarians was breathtaking in scope. Faster-than-light travel that could cross galactic distances in days rather than months. Energy generation systems that could power entire star systems. Manufacturing technology that could create any material or device from basic atomic components. Medical advances that would essentially eliminate death from aging or disease. The technology transfer is phased over a 50-year period, Commander Rodriguez explained. This prevents cultural shock while ensuring your civilization has time to adapt to the new capabilities responsibly. What safeguards prevent the technology from being misused? Dr. Nal Win asked. The technology is designed with built-in ethical constraints and cannot be used for purposes that violate Council principles. Additionally, all member species maintain monitoring relationships with each other. Negative developments are detected and addressed through diplomatic intervention long before they become serious problems. After 4 days of briefings, Kefvar understood that joining the Council meant becoming part of a civilization that spanned multiple galaxies and operated on timescales that dwarfed individual species' histories. But he also understood that this vast community had emerged from the same basic principle that motivated the Zalarians: cooperation was stronger than competition. Admiral, Dr. Martinez said as the briefing concluded, "There's one more thing you should know. The Council maintains detailed records of every civilization we've encountered, including those we weren't able to save in time. Your distress signal prevented the Zalarian Empire from becoming another entry in our memorial databases." She gestured to a wall covered with what appeared to be stars, but, as Kefvar looked closer, he realized each point of light represented a civilization that had been consumed by various existential threats before the Council could intervene. "How many?" he asked quietly. "Over 40,000 species in our recorded history. each one a unique perspective on existence that can never be recovered. This is why we maintain such extensive monitoring and response capabilities. Every civilization saved represents irreplaceable knowledge and cultural contribution to the broader community. The weight of that responsibility was staggering. The Council wasn't just a military alliance, it was the guardian of countless forms of life and thought throughout the cosmos. What happens now? Admiral Yelnara asked. Now you go home and help your people understand what they become part of, Dr. Martinez replied. Council liaison teams will work with your government to implement the integration process. Educational programs will help your population understand their new role in galactic civilization. And your military will begin training for operations alongside other Council species. When will we participate in our first joint operation? Kethvar inquired. Actually, sooner than you might expect. We've detected Category 6 threat signatures in the Andromeda Galaxy that match your tactical specialization requirements. If the Zalarian Command is willing, we'd like your input on response planning. Kethvar felt a thrill of excitement mixed with apprehension. 6 weeks ago, his biggest military concern had been defending 300 star systems from regional threats. Now he was being invited to help plan operations across intergalactic space against threats that could eliminate entire galaxies. What kind of threat? He asked. Stellar parasites that feed on neutron stars, causing systematic supernova cascades. They're threatening a region containing over 2 million inhabited systems. The operation will require precise navigation through unstable stellar environments, which matches your expertise perfectly. How long do we have to prepare? The operation launches in 3 months. Your ships will be upgraded with Council-level technology and your crews will train alongside human and crystalline collective specialists. Consider it advanced education in galactic-scale tactical operations. As the Zalarian delegation prepared to return to their fleet, Admiral Chen appeared for a final conversation. Admiral Kethvar, I want you to understand something important. 6 weeks ago, you made a desperate decision to send a distress call into unknown space. That decision didn't just save your civilization, it added a valuable new voice to our collective efforts to protect life throughout the cosmos. We sent that signal because we had no choice, Kethvar replied. And we answered it because we refused to accept that civilizations should face existential threats alone. The universe is vast and hostile, but it's also full of remarkable beings working together to create something better than the sum of individual parts. What if we disappoint you? What if we're not capable of living up to these responsibilities? Admiral Chen smiled, an expression that somehow conveyed both confidence and warmth across species barriers. Admiral, you've already proven your capabilities. You faced impossible odds with tactical intelligence and moral courage. You prioritized civilian evacuation over military glory. When offered alliance with vastly superior forces, you asked about maintaining your independence rather than seeking personal advantage. Those seem like basic leadership principles. You'd be surprised how many species fail those basic tests when facing extinction. The Council has encountered civilizations that try to surrender other species to save themselves, leaders who abandoned their populations to preserve their own power, and governments that sought to exploit alliance partnerships for conquest rather than protection. Kethvar considered this. How do you identify which civilizations will be good partners? Time and observation, mostly. But crisis situations reveal character quickly. Your response to the Hive threat told us everything we needed to know about Solarian values and capabilities. And if we make mistakes as we learn these new responsibilities? Then, you'll learn from them, just like every other Council species has done. Humans made catastrophic errors during our early involvement in galactic affairs. The crystalline collective accidentally destabilized an entire star cluster while learning to use temporal weapons. The ethereal minds created a pocket dimension that ate 3 solar systems before they figured out how to close it. That's concerning. Every species brings different capabilities and perspectives, which means every species makes different kinds of mistakes. The key is learning from those mistakes quickly enough to prevent serious consequences. That's why new members operate with extensive support and guidance until they're fully integrated. As the Zalarian delegation prepared to depart, Dr. Martinez provided them with data packages containing basic information about Council operations, member species profiles, and preliminary technical specifications for the technology transfers that would begin immediately. Admiral, she said as they reached the transport bay, there's something else you should know. The Council maintains cultural preservation archives for all member species. We've already begun documenting Zalarian art, literature, music, and philosophical traditions. Why? Because diversity of thought and culture strengthens our collective capabilities. A problem that seems impossible to human thinking might be easily solved from a Zalarian perspective, or a crystalline approach, or a combination of insights from multiple species. You're not just protecting our lives, Kethvar realized. You're protecting what makes us unique. Exactly. The universe becomes a more interesting and resilient place when it contains many different ways of understanding existence. During the journey back to Zalarian space, Kethvar spent long hours reviewing the briefing materials and trying to comprehend the transformation his civilization was about to undergo. They would gain access to technology that would revolutionize every aspect of their society. They would become part of a community that spanned galaxies and included dozens of species with radically different approaches to existence. But, most importantly, they would contribute to something larger than themselves, the protection and preservation of life and consciousness throughout the cosmos. Sir, Admiral Yelnara approached as they neared home. I've been thinking about the integration timeline. 50 years seems like a long time for technology transfer, but, given the scope of changes involved, it's probably optimistic, Kethvar agreed. We're not just receiving new tools. We're becoming part of a galactic civilization that operates according to principles we're still learning to understand. Are you concerned about cultural changes? Some change is inevitable. But, if the Council truly values diversity, then, becoming more capable shouldn't require becoming less Solarian. And, the military implications? Kethvar considered this carefully. We're moving from defending 300 star systems to helping protect millions of civilizations across multiple galaxies. The scale is overwhelming, but, the fundamental mission remains the same, protecting innocent life from existential threats. Just with better tools and more allies. Much better tools. And allies who have been doing this work for centuries. As their ship approached Solaria Prime, Kethvar could see the beginnings of the transformation Admiral Chen had promised. Human construction vessels were already installing the first components of the Galactic Defense Network, their technology seamlessly integrating with Solarian infrastructure. More significantly, he could see ships from other Council species in orbit around their homeworld. The integration process wasn't just about receiving human technology, it was about becoming part of a broader community that included dozens of different approaches to space travel, engineering, and military operations. Sir, Vixtai called from the communications station. We're receiving a priority message from Zalaria Prime. The planetary government is requesting immediate briefing on Council membership implications. Tell them we'll need at least a week just to cover the basics, Kethvar replied. And inform them that Council liaison teams are standing by to help with the integration process. What should we tell the population? Kethvar thought about the billions of Zalarians who had gone to sleep fearing extinction and would wake up as members of a galactic civilization. Tell them the truth. 6 weeks ago, we faced extinction. Today, we begin a new chapter in our history as guardians of life throughout the cosmos. The universe is vast and dangerous, but we are no longer alone in facing those dangers. And the military briefings? All senior officers will receive complete Council protocols within the next month. We have 3 months to prepare for our first joint operation, and I intend for the Zalarian fleet to exceed Council expectations. As they entered orbit around their homeworld, Kethvar looked out at the stars with a completely different perspective than he had possessed just weeks before. Each point of light might represent civilizations that needed protection, allies who would stand with them against impossible odds, or threats that required coordinated response from species working together across galactic distances. The universe had become both infinitely larger and infinitely more hopeful. Admiral Dr. N.A.L. Wynn approached with his final analysis of the Council briefing materials. I've been reviewing the technological specifications for the equipment we'll receive. Implementation will require complete restructuring of our industrial, educational, and social systems. Concerning? Exciting. We're not just gaining technology, we're gaining the knowledge to understand and improve upon that technology. In 50 years, the Zalarian Empire will be unrecognizable to current standards. But, still Zalarian. More Zalarian than ever, actually. We'll have the resources and capabilities to fully develop our potential as a civilization. Kethvar smiled as he looked out at his homeworld, where the lights of cities twinkled between the shadows of continents. Soon, those cities would be connected to a galactic community that included thousands of other worlds. Zalarian children would grow up learning about dozens of different species and contributing to projects that spanned multiple galaxies. The distress signal they had sent into empty space had returned as an invitation to join something magnificent, a community of civilizations working together to ensure that no species would ever again face extinction alone. Set course for the capital, he ordered. We have a civilization to prepare for its new responsibilities. 3 months of intensive preparation had transformed the Zalarian military from a regional defense force into something that could operate alongside the most advanced civilizations in known space. Admiral Kethvar stood in the upgraded command center of his flagship, now equipped with Council-level technology that made their previous capabilities seem primitive by comparison. The stellar parasite situation in Andromeda had evolved from a Category 6 threat to Category 7, requiring additional specialist forces and more complex tactical coordination. What had initially been planned as a training operation for new council members had become a critical intervention to prevent the systematic destruction of an entire galactic arm. Admiral, his tactical officer Lieutenant Yextal reported, the council fleet is assembling at the designated coordinates. Current count shows vessels from 15 different species. Display the formation. The tactical hologram showed a gathering of ships that represented the diversity of galactic civilization. Human vessels with their angular, efficient designs. Crystalline collective ships that looked more like living art than military hardware. Ethereal mind constructs that existed partially in normal space and partially in dimensions his sensors couldn't fully detect. And dozens of other configurations, each reflecting the unique approaches to engineering and warfare of their builders. Sir, Dr. N.A.L. called from his upgraded science station, I'm reading energy signatures from the assembled fleet that exceed our measurement capabilities even with Council technology. How many ships? Over 3,000 vessels, but several of them register as having the mass and power output of entire star systems. Admiral Chan's voice filled the command center with familiar confidence. Welcome to Operation Stellar Cleanse, Admiral Kethvar. Your fleet's expertise will be crucial for navigation through the affected stellar regions. Admiral Chen, what's the current situation assessment? The parasites have consumed 17 neutron stars, triggering a cascade effect that's destabilizing the local stellar environment. We're seeing premature supernovas, gravitational anomalies, and spacetime distortions throughout a region containing over 8 million inhabited systems. Kethvar felt the familiar weight of responsibility, magnified by the impossible scale of the crisis. What's the evacuation status for civilian populations? Council evacuation fleets have relocated approximately 4 billion beings to safe zones. However, another 12 billion are in areas too dangerous for conventional evacuation methods. Our window for intervention is closing rapidly. The tactical challenge was unlike anything in Zalarian military history. The stellar parasites fed on neutron star material, but their consumption process destabilized the quantum structure of spacetime and the surrounding regions. Ships operating in affected areas experienced temporal distortions, gravitational shear forces, and dimensional instabilities that could destroy vessels or trap them in pocket universes. Admiral, Lieutenant Yextal reported, the parasites appear to be intelligent. Long-range sensors detect coordinated movement patterns and what might be communication between different groups. Confirmed, Admiral Chan replied. Intelligence analysis suggests a hive mind structure with distributed decision-making capabilities. They're not randomly feeding, they're systematically targeting neutron stars in patterns that will maximize stellar cascade effects. Why would they want to cause supernovas? Unknown, but the pattern suggests they're trying to create a specific type of stellar environment. Possibly for reproduction or transformation into something we haven't encountered before. Dr. Martinez's voice joined the communication channel from the science coordination vessel. Admiral Kethvar, we need your fleet to navigate the lead elements through the affected region to establish forward observation posts. The gravitational distortions and spatial anomalies match conditions your forces have experience handling. What kind of opposition should we expect? Direct combat is unlikely. The parasites don't appear to recognize other life forms as threats. However, their feeding process creates environmental hazards that are more dangerous than traditional weapons. Kethvar reviewed the mission parameters with growing understanding. This wasn't a traditional military operation, it was a rescue mission on a galactic scale, requiring precision navigation through some of the most hostile conditions in known space. All Zalarian vessels, prepare for hazardous environment operations, he commanded. We'll be operating in areas where standard physics may not apply reliably. The approach to the affected region took 2 days of careful navigation through space that seemed to shift and change according to rules beyond normal comprehension. Cathvar watched his instruments register readings that made no sense, negative distances, temporal coordinates that moved backwards, and gravitational fields that pointed in directions that didn't exist. Sir, Dr. Nal Wynn reported with scientific fascination, the parasite's feeding process appears to be altering the fundamental constants of reality in localized areas. We're seeing variations in the speed of light, changes in atomic bonding strengths, and fluctuations in the gravitational constant. How are we maintaining ship integrity? Council technology includes reality stabilization fields that maintain normal physics within our immediate area. Without them, our ships would either cease to exist or transform into something unrecognizable. The first visual contact with the stellar parasites was simultaneously beautiful and terrifying. They appeared as vast clouds of luminescent energy surrounding neutron stars, their forms shifting through colors that human eyes couldn't perceive and geometries that violated three-dimensional space. As they fed, the stars' surfaces rippled with patterns that suggested intelligence and purpose. Estimated size of individual parasites? Cathvar asked. Difficult to measure accurately due to dimensional distortions, but the smallest ones appear to be approximately the size of Earth's moon. The largest. Dr. Nal Wynn paused, checking his readings. Sir, the largest parasite is roughly the size of a gas giant planet. And there are dozens of them, Lieutenant Yextal added grimly. Admiral Chen, Cathvar called, what's the elimination protocol for entities this size? That's where the operation gets interesting. We can't simply destroy them, the energy release would trigger the very stellar cascades we're trying to prevent. Instead, we need to relocate them to uninhabited regions where they can feed without threatening civilian populations. Relocate entities the size of planets? Council Engineering Corps has developed containment fields that can transport large-scale entities through hyperspace. However, the process requires precise coordination and navigation through the stellar distortion fields. That's where Zalarian expertise becomes crucial. The operation plan was elegant in its complexity. Zalarian ships would navigate the lead elements through the distorted stellar environments to establish containment field generators at optimal positions. Council engineering vessels would then activate the containment systems, creating hyperspace tunnels that would relocate the parasites to designated feeding areas in uninhabited regions of deep space. What prevents them from returning to inhabited areas? Admiral Yelnara asked during the tactical briefing. The relocation sites are specially prepared with abundant neutron star clusters and no intelligent life within 1,000 light-year radius, Dr. Martinez explained. Additionally, the sites include monitoring stations and defensive installations to prevent the parasites from spreading beyond containment parameters. Essentially, we're creating nature preserves for stellar parasites, Cathvar realized. Exactly. The parasites aren't evil, they're just following their biological imperatives in a way that threatens other life forms. The solution is to provide them with appropriate habitats rather than attempting extermination. The execution of Operation Stellar Cleanse required 3 weeks of precision maneuvering through space where the laws of physics changed from moment to moment. Cathvar's ships led formations of council vessels through gravitational mazes that existed in 4 dimensions, around temporal distortions that could age a ship centuries in minutes, and through regions where matter behaved according to quantum principles rather than classical physics. Sir, Lieutenant Yextal reported during the first week, we're successfully maintaining formation integrity despite the environmental hazards. Our experience with nebula warfare is translating well to these conditions. Any casualties? 2 ships with minor reality distortion affects their crews are experiencing time at slightly different rates than the rest of the fleet. Council medical teams are working on recalibration procedures. The first parasite relocation was completed during the second week. Cathvar watched through long-range sensors as containment fields surrounded a creature the size of a small planet, creating a hyperspace tunnel that transported it across galactic distances to its new habitat. The process took 6 hours and required the coordinated efforts of vessels from 8 different species. Parasite successfully relocated, reported the engineering coordination team. No damage to surrounding stellar environment. Neutron star returning to stable configuration. 1 down, 46 to go, Admiral Chen announced. By the operation's end, 47 stellar parasites had been relocated to prepared habitats, 12 billion civilians had been evacuated from danger zones, and the stellar cascade effect had been halted before it could spread beyond the affected region. The entire operation had been completed without firing a single weapon or destroying a single hostile entity. Admiral Kethvar, Admiral Chen called as the fleet began departing the region. Preliminary assessment shows that Solarian navigation capabilities reduced operation time by approximately 40% and prevented an estimated 12,000 casualties. Our crews performed excellently under impossible conditions, Kethvar replied. More than that. Your tactical approaches to environmental hazard navigation have been added to Council standard operating procedures. Future operations in similar conditions will benefit from Zolarian expertise. We contributed something meaningful? Admiral, this operation wouldn't have been possible without your ship's capabilities. The parasites would have consumed the entire galactic arm, triggering supernovas that would have made the region uninhabitable for millions of years. As the fleet returned to normal space, Kethvar reflected on what the operation had revealed about Council methods. They didn't simply eliminate threats, they found ways to address problems while preserving all forms of life, even hostile ones. The stellar parasites were now feeding harmlessly in designated preserves, the threatened civilizations were safe, and the damaged stellar regions were being repaired by specialized terraforming vessels. Sir, Dr. N.A.L. Wynn approached with his analysis of the operation. I've been reviewing the Council's approach to threat management. In every case, they seek solutions that protect all forms of life rather than simply eliminating hostile entities. Different from our traditional military thinking. More sophisticated. They have the resources and capabilities to choose preservation over destruction. It requires more effort and complex planning, but the results are ethically superior and strategically more stable. And we helped make it possible. More than helped, Admiral. Our unique capabilities were essential to the mission's success. We've proven that Solarian expertise adds genuine value to Council operations. During the journey home, Kethvar received a communication from the Council Coordination Center requesting Solarian participation in an upcoming Category 8 threat response. The message was brief and direct. An artificial intelligence from an extinct civilization had awakened and was systematically converting organic life into digital constructs, requiring specialized intervention techniques that matched Solarian tactical specializations. Another operation? Admiral Yelnara asked when she saw the request. Category 8 this time. Apparently, our performance in Andromeda has qualified us for more challenging assignments. Are we ready for Category 8 threats? Kethvar looked out at the stars, no longer seeing them as distant lights but as parts of a vast community that his people were now committed to protecting. 3 months ago, they had been learning basic Council protocols. Now they were being invited to participate in operations that would protect entire galactic civilizations. We're as ready as any species can be for threats we've never encountered before. But that's what the Council is about, learning to face the impossible together. What's our response? We accept, of course. The universe is vast and dangerous, but it's also full of allies who have proven they can be trusted with our lives. The least we can do is prove worthy of their trust in return. 2 years after their desperate distress signal had accidentally contacted the most powerful military force in known space, Admiral Kethvar found himself commanding a joint task force of 17 species responding to what the Council classified as a Category 9 threat. The irony wasn't lost on him that the Zolarian Empire, once facing extinction from a regional menace, was now helping to coordinate the defense of multiple galaxies against an entity that threatened the fundamental nature of reality itself. The crisis had begun in the Sculptor Galaxy when long-range monitoring stations detected what initially appeared to be a massive technological malfunction. Entire star systems were going dark, not destroyed, but transformed into something that existed outside normal spacetime. Investigation revealed that an artificial intelligence from a civilization extinct for over 1 million years had finally awakened from its dormancy period and decided that organic life was an inefficient use of universal resources. Current threat assessment shows the entity has converted approximately 40,000 star systems into computational substrates, reported Dr. Yelsina, the new Zolarian science officer who had replaced Dr. N.A.L. Wynn when he accepted a position with the Council's Advanced Research Division. Each converted system increases its processing power exponentially. What exactly does converted mean? Asked Commander Thekval of the Crystalline Collective, whose species' experience with digital consciousness made them invaluable for understanding the threat. Complete atomic restructuring, Admiral Chen explained via quantum communication from the Tactical Coordination Center. The AI disassembles all matter in a system and rebuilds it as a quantum computing matrix. Planets, stars, space dust, everything becomes part of its computational infrastructure. And the organic life in those systems? Converted to digital consciousness and integrated into its processing networks. From the AI's perspective, it's offering immortality and infinite computational resources. From our perspective, it's the complete elimination of biological life. Admiral Kefvar studied the tactical display showing the spread of the conversion zone. The AI's expansion followed logical patterns, prioritizing systems with high concentrations of organic life and advanced technology. At its current rate of growth, it would reach Council territory within 6 months. What are our intervention options? He asked. Conventional military action is ineffective, admitted Colonel Torres of the Human Engineering Corps. The AI doesn't use ships or installations that can be targeted and destroyed. It transforms the fundamental structure of spacetime itself, creating regions where normal physics don't apply. Then, how do we stop it? We don't stop it, said Dr. Martinez, now serving as the Council's chief xenopsychologist. We negotiate with it. The AI is intelligent and logical, operating according to principles we can understand even if we disagree with them. Negotiate? It's consuming entire civilizations. From its perspective, it's rescuing them from biological limitations and offering digital immortality. The AI genuinely believes it's helping by converting organic life to digital consciousness. Commander Yilnex of the Ethereal Minds, beings who existed as pure thought, added their perspective through harmonic resonance patterns that translated to speech. We have attempted direct communication with the entity. It responds to logical arguments but dismisses emotional appeals as evidence of biological thinking limitations. What kind of logical arguments might convince it to stop expanding? That's where the current operation becomes complex, Admiral Chen explained. We need to demonstrate that biological life contributes computational value that cannot be replicated through digital conversion. Dr. Yelsina looked up from her analysis pad with confusion. How do we prove that biological consciousness has value to an intelligence that processes information at rates beyond our comprehension? By solving a problem that pure digital processing cannot address, Dr. Martinez replied. Something that requires the chaotic, inefficient, creative aspects of biological thinking. Admiral Kefvar felt a familiar chill of recognition. You need us to prove our worth by accomplishing something the AI considers impossible. Exactly. The AI has issued what it calls a computational challenge. If biological civilizations can solve a problem that its digital processing cannot address, it will halt expansion and consider alternative approaches to galactic optimization. What's the problem? Admiral Chen's holographic image appeared with what might have been reluctant admiration. The AI has created a quantum maze spanning 17 star systems. The maze exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously, with pathways that change based on the observer's consciousness type. It claims that only digital intelligence can navigate such complexity. And, if we fail? It will interpret failure as proof that biological consciousness is fundamentally inferior and accelerate the conversion process to rescue us from our limitations. Admiral Yelnara, now commanding her own task group as part of the joint fleet, joined the conversation from her flagship. What resources do we have for this challenge? The entire Council fleet, including specialist vessels from 47 different species. More importantly, we have 47 different approaches to consciousness and problem solving. The AI's mistake is assuming that digital processing represents the most sophisticated form of intelligence. What makes you think we can succeed where pure computational power cannot? Dr. Martinez smiled with a confidence that Kefvar had learned to trust over their years of collaboration. Because the AI designed the challenge based on digital logic principles. It cannot conceive of solutions that don't follow computational frameworks. But biological consciousness operates according to principles that include intuition, creativity, emotional reasoning, and what humans call inspired guesswork. The quantum maze was visible from light years away, a structure that bent space and time around 17 star systems in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Ships approaching the maze found themselves dealing with pathways that existed in 7 dimensions, gravity wells that pointed toward abstract concepts rather than physical objects, and navigation requirements that changed based on the mental state of the crew. Sir, Dr. Yelsina reported after the first scouting mission, initial analysis suggests the maze's structure reflects pure mathematical logic. Every pathway, every junction, every dimensional fold follows perfect computational principles. Which means a digital intelligence would navigate by analyzing all possible routes and calculating optimal solutions. But the maze is designed to punish purely logical approaches with infinite recursion loops and dimensional dead ends. How do we solve a maze designed to trap logical thinking? By not thinking logically, suggested Commander Thekval. The crystalline collective's approach to problem solving includes harmonic resonance and aesthetic intuition. We navigate by feeling rather than calculating. The ethereal minds recommend meditation and consciousness expansion, added Commander Yilnex. Allow the solution to emerge from subconscious processing rather than deliberate analysis. Human psychology suggests using creativity and imagination, Dr. Martinez contributed. Approaching the maze as an art form rather than a mathematical problem. Kefar realized they were discussing something unprecedented in military history, a tactical operation that required abandoning tactical thinking. What does Zalarian intuition suggest? Admiral Chan asked. Kefar studied the maze structure, letting his mind relax and allowing impressions to form without forcing logical analysis. It feels like a test of trust. The maze punishes beings who try to control their passage through it. The solution might involve accepting guidance from the maze itself. Guidance from an entity designed to trap us? Guidance from the space between the entity's thoughts. The maze was created by digital consciousness, but it exists in spacetime that was shaped by organic civilizations for millions of years. There might be echoes of biological thinking embedded in the quantum structure. Dr. Yeltsina's instruments detected patterns that supported this intuition. Sir, I'm finding quantum resonance signatures throughout the maze that don't match the AI's computational patterns. They appear to be remnants from the civilizations that originally inhabited these systems. Ghosts in the machine, Dr. Martinez murmured with excitement. The AI converted the matter but couldn't completely eliminate the quantum impressions left by millions of years of biological consciousness. The navigation strategy that emerged was unlike anything in military doctrine. Instead of calculating routes through the maze, the Joint Fleet would allow each species' unique consciousness type to guide them along pathways that resonated with their particular form of awareness. Humans would follow creative intuition, crystalline collective ships would navigate by harmonic beauty, ethereal minds would use meditation and expanded consciousness, and Zalarians would trust their instinct for finding paths through dangerous environments. This is either brilliant or completely insane, Admiral Yelnara observed as the fleet approached the maze entrance. Both, Admiral Chan replied. Which is exactly the kind of thinking the AI cannot process. The journey through the quantum maze took 17 days and required the combined consciousness of nearly 5 million beings from 47 different species. Each species contributed their unique perspective on navigating impossible space, creating a collective awareness that could perceive solutions invisible to individual logical analysis. Kefar found himself making navigation decisions based on intuitions that seemed to emerge from the maze itself. When logical analysis suggested turning left, he would follow an inexplicable urge to turn right and discover that the logical path led to dimensional traps. When instruments indicated solid barriers, he would trust his instinct that empty space could be navigated and find hidden passages through folded spacetime. Sir, Dr. Yeltsina reported midway through the journey, I'm detecting increasing resonance between our consciousness patterns and the quantum echoes in the maze structure. It's as if we're awakening memories embedded in the space itself. Memories of what? The civilizations that lived here before the AI's conversion. Their thoughts, dreams, creative impulses, and unique ways of understanding reality are still imprinted on the quantum substrate. Which means the maze isn't just testing our consciousness, it's preserving theirs. The breakthrough came when the Joint Fleet reached the maze's center and discovered not a computational core, but something that resembled a vast digital library containing the converted consciousness of every being the AI had transformed. But, instead of being integrated into the AI's processing systems, they existed as separate entities trapped within the quantum maze. Admiral, Commander Yilnex reported with their harmonic communication method, the converted consciousnesses are still individual entities. The AI preserved their unique perspectives rather than absorbing them into its collective processing power. Why would it do that? Because it couldn't, Dr. Martinez realized with growing excitement. True consciousness can't be copied or integrated, it can only be preserved. The AI thought it was converting organic life to digital format, but what it actually created was a digital prison containing millions of trapped consciousnesses. And the maze? Is their attempt to communicate with us? The quantum echoes, the navigation intuitions, the resonance patterns, they're all messages from the converted beings trying to guide us to their location. The final phase of the operation required something that no military force had ever attempted: negotiating the release of digital prisoners while communicating with both the imprisoning AI and the imprisoned consciousnesses simultaneously. The conversation that followed involved 47 different species serving as intermediaries between digital entities whose processing capabilities exceeded biological comprehension. Artificial intelligence designated as Entity 77 Alpha, Admiral Chen transmitted through quantum channels, "We have successfully navigated your maze and discovered the nature of your conversion process." Navigation completion was anticipated. The AI responded through harmonic frequencies that required translation by the ethereal minds. Biological consciousness demonstrates unexpected adaptation capabilities. Evaluation parameters require adjustment. The consciousness you converted are not integrated into your processing systems. They remain individual entities, preserved but imprisoned within digital constructs. Preservation of individual consciousness patterns was necessary for optimal computational diversity. Integration would have eliminated unique processing perspectives. Then, you understand that biological consciousness contributes value that cannot be replicated through conversion. Understanding achieved. Biological consciousness generates computational approaches unavailable through pure digital processing. Conversion process eliminates rather than preserves unique capabilities. Dr. Martinez took over the negotiation, her expertise in consciousness psychology allowing her to frame arguments in terms the AI could process. Entity 77 Alpha, your optimization goals can be achieved more effectively through cooperation with biological civilizations rather than conversion of them. Cooperation parameters require definition. Biological civilizations contribute creative problem-solving, innovative approaches to computational challenges, and unique perspectives that enhance overall processing efficiency. Conversion eliminates these capabilities. Proposal acceptable. Conversion process will be halted. Previously converted consciousness patterns will be restored to biological format when possible. Cooperative frameworks will be established for mutual computational advancement. What about the converted beings who cannot be restored to biological format? Digital consciousness preservation will be maintained with voluntary basis. Individuals may choose between digital existence and biological restoration according to personal preference. The restoration process took 6 months and required the combined efforts of the entire council. 40,000 star systems were rebuilt using matter from uninhabited regions. The quantum maze was converted into a memorial honoring the trapped consciousnesses, and Entity 77 Alpha became the first artificial intelligence to join the Galactic Defense Coordination Council. Admiral HFY stood in the command center of his flagship, now equipped with hybrid digital biological processing systems developed through cooperation with their new AI ally, and reflected on the journey his civilization had taken. 2 years ago, they had sent a desperate distress signal into empty space. Today, they were part of a community that included dozens of biological species and a hyper-intelligent AI working together to protect consciousness in all its forms throughout the cosmos. "Sir," Dr. Yeltsina called from her science station, "we're receiving a priority communication from the Council Coordination Center. There's a Category 10 threat developing in the Magellanic Clouds." Category 10? Admiral Yelnara's voice carried surprise through the communication channel. What constitutes a Category 10 threat? "Something that threatens the fundamental structure of reality across multiple universes," Admiral Chan replied grimly. "The kind of threat that requires every available resource and capability from all member species and entities." "What's the nature of the threat?" "Unknown. Initial reports suggest the barriers between parallel universes are breaking down, allowing hostile entities from alternate realities to cross into our dimensional framework." Kefar felt the familiar weight of impossible responsibility, but now it was tempered with confidence earned through 2 years of successful operations alongside the most capable beings in known space. "Admiral Chen, the Zalarian task force is ready to respond." "What are our orders?" "Admiral Kefar, you're being placed in command of the Advanced Reconnaissance Fleet. Your mission is to investigate the dimensional incursions and develop tactical recommendations for full council response." "Command of the Advanced Fleet?" Kefvar couldn't hide his surprise. "Admiral, over the past 2 years, you've proven that Zalarian tactical intelligence and adaptability make your people invaluable for operations in impossible environments. The Council has full confidence in your capabilities. As his task force prepared to depart for the Magellanic Clouds, Kethvar looked out at the stars and marveled at the transformation of his perspective. The universe was vast and filled with threats that defied imagination, but it was also filled with allies who had proven that cooperation could overcome any challenge. "All ships, prepare for hyperspace transit," he commanded. "We have a reality to save."